Mesechta Zevachim Daf Samach Amar Aleph. We're starting like 15 to 17 lines from the bottom, starting with the words of Rabbi Yosi. Rabbi Yosi. What does Rabbi Yosi do with the Gzeira Shavah? Yesterday we said that Rabbi Yehuda learned out from Yecheskel's Mizbeach. It says Yecheskel's Mizbeach was 12 by 12. So it says, because it says the word Ravua, and Ravua means not 12 by, it wasn't the whole side 12 by 12, from the center to the end was 12.
Because they were adding the corners.
No, the center. You can either count 12 the whole length, or you go from the center, and you count from the center. From here to here is 12, and from here to here is 12. That means it's 24 by 24. So he said, because he meant from the center. That's he wants to tell you you're supposed to count from the center. There's anything to count from the center. There it says Ravua. The Ravua by Moshe Rabbeinu, it said 5. Rabbi Yehuda says, I don't agree with Rabbi Yosi. Rabbi Yehuda said that it was only 5 by 5. He says it was 10 by 10 because he's supposed to 5 from the center. So it's really 10 by 10. He says that the Kleiner Mizbeach was Rabbi Yosi had gesagt, as it's finished by finished, it wasn't 5 by 5. It was really 10 by 10 because you have to count from the center. It says Ravua. So Ravua. So we gained that it was 10 by 10. You take off 2 amas because the chronos was 1 amma, and so it's both sides. Every side is a amma, so it's 2 amas. Then the Raglei Hakahanim is another 2, so it's 4 off. So you're left with from the 3 by 3. I mean 6. You were right, but yeah, 6 by 6. So it's 36. 36 of Mizbeach of Moshe of 36 by 36, right? I'm sorry, 6 by 6, which was 36, could only carry 1,000. No, that's size of the Mizbeach. But by Moshe, by Shlomo HaMelech, how big was the Mizbeach? 400 amas. It was 20 by 20. How many times does 36 go into 400? 11. 11 times 36 is 396. So it's 11 times, so it's only 11,000 kabbanis that were makir. So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda said, have to be Mekadosh the Hazara. There was 100 and the whole Hazara because Shlomo HaMelech was being makir 142,000. And here you could only have 11,000. So that's how he learned. But Rabbi Yosi learns, no, the Mizbeach of Moshe Rabbeinu was 5 by 5, and you took off 2 amas for the Krones and for the Ragel Kahanim, so there was only 1 amma. 1 amma you were makriv 1,000. We said it was mamish, like it was that fire was a special fire. It said it brings it down. Shlomo HaMelech was 400 square feet, so for sure you had time. So Rabbi Yosi, according to Rabbi Yosi, why did he need to do the? Why did Rabbi Yehuda have to? I'm sorry. Why did Shlomo HaMelech have to be Mekadosh Da'azara? The Gemara is soon going to ask that. We're going to get that, but because everything was enough on the Mizbeach, there was enough to have 400,000 kabbanis. That's going to be the Gemara question later on.
So that's why he made Mekadosh the whole Hazara.
So why did he? So the kasha is on Rabbi Yosi. Why did Shlomo HaMelech? Why did he need to be Mekadosh Da'azara? We'll talk about that later. Right now, Rabbi Yosi says it was 5 by 5. You don't count from the center. So what does he do with the Ravua? We have a Gzeira Shavah, Ravua from Becheskel. So he says, Rabbi Yosi, Ki Gama Gzeira Shavah, Beguva the Gama. He learns the Gzeira Shavah not benegeya to count from the center, but to tell you how do you measure the height of the Mizbeach. The Tanya that we learned in the Braisa, Shalosh Anish Kamaisa, Kaimotze, the Mizbeach, Hachitzoni, according to this Braisa, was 3 amas. The one kicks up and did Rabbi Yehuda. 3 amas, Shalosh Amas Kamasei. Yeah. Shalosh Amas Kamasei. But we had this before. It doesn't mean the full height. It means from the Soiviv, from the ledge to the top of the Mizbeach was 3 amas. We'll soon talk about it. So sure, from the bottom it was 6, plus these 3 is 9, plus the Kronos was 1, so there was 10 amas high. But this is, according to Rabbi Yehuda, was 3 amas. Rabbi Yosi says, no, we have a Gzeira Shavah, never kind of never lahalam nevuah. By the Mizbeach HaPnimi it says Avua, and it says over here by this Mizbeach of yes, it says Avua by the Mizbeach HaChitze. Malahalan, just like by the Mizbeach HaPnimi. How high was the Mizbeach HaPnimi? 2 amas. But it says, but Goiva Pishnayim Barkei. It was Amma Arkei, but it was Amasayim Kimasei. It was 1 amma in the length. And the Ravua told us that the height goes double the length. So if the length was 1 amma, so then the height is double that, 2 ammas. So just like the Mizbeach HaPnimi was double the length of the Mizbeach, no, the height was double the length of the Mizbeach. Avkan, so too by the Mizbeach HaChitzin, Pishnayim Karkei. So too by the Mizbeach HaChitzin, if it was 5 ammas in the length, so the height was 10 ammas. Sagt die Mother, Amalei Rabbi Yehuda, V'aloi Kvar Nema, V'asirich HaChotze Meya Amma V'koyme Chomesh Ammas. But it says that the chotzer, the length of the chotzer was 100 amas, but the height was 5 amas. So how could it be height? The mizbeach was higher than the walls that surrounded it. It was kedusha. It was supposed to be b'tznius. It doesn't make sense that everybody could see what's going on with the avodah of kodesh. Here he brings it down.
What's wrong?
No, it has to be tzanua. It's not. It says v'chol ha'im reimos b'chutz mitzad chtzarich tznius. It says the kedusha, the way. No, the avodah of kabbanis is something. It's not that nice, but it's a kedusha l'gizah, and we didn't want people from the outside to see it.
It's not Hanukkah.
It's not Hanukkah. It's sicher nicht Hanukkah. Yeah. So sagt die Gemara, aber Leute, Rabbi Yossi answered back, weil kvar nemer is kali hachotza, ves mosach shar hachotza. It says the curtains of the chotza and the screens of the chotza, of the gate of the chotza, Hashala Mishkan, Vala Mizbeach Sadiv. It says that the kali hachotza surrounded the Mishkan. It's to protect the walls of the Mishkan. How high were the Kedoshim? 10 amas. So Ma Mishkan es amas, just like the Mishkan was 10 amas. Av HaMizbeach es amas, so too the Mizbeach was es amas. The Omer Kloyim, so you can say that the walls was only 5 amas. It says Befeda should protect it to Kedoshim. So if it protected the Kedoshim, it was 10 amas. And it says so too, at this time it says also the Mizbeach was es amas, is just comparing the Mizbeach to the Kedoshim, that's all. V'chein oimer kloyim chamish esei ama ala kosef. It says befedish that it was right. So it was 15 at least. So what are you saying that? So you can't say it was 5 amas. What does it mean 5 amas? Ama ala kosef on each side it was 15 amas. Uma tamud loimer chamish amas. We said that it was 100 amas long but 5 amas high. What does that mean? So he says, Misvas HaMizbeach U'Lamayla, it means from on top of the Mizbeach, which was already 10 amas, there was another 5 amas in the height of that the walls of the Chotzer went higher. Kalei HaChotzer. Because the Chatchila says Kalei HaChotzer is 5 amas. Then you have another pasuk that says Kalei HaChotzer is 15 amas. What's the pshat? So he says from the Mizbeach that was 10 amas, it was above the Mizbeach 5 amas. In fact, but it says befedish by the midah of the mizbeach, the measurement of the height of the mizbeach was 3 amas high. So how are you going to learn the pshat?
That's so high.
Yeah, it was so low. We said it was 15, and here it says 3 amas. Or it was 10, but we said it was 10, and then we said it was 10, and here it says there's 3 amas. So how could Rabbi Yossi say it was 3 amas? So he says Misvas Soiviv U'Lamayla. It means from the ledge, from the floor to the ledge. You remember in the middle of the mizbeach on top of the chut hasika, they had a amma sticking out that people walked. They kind of were able to walk on it. So that was 6 amas from the ground. Then there was another 3 amas to the roof of the mizbeach, and then the kronis was another amma. So it's altogether 10. 6 amas to the ledge,
And then
3 more to the top, and then the kronis, another amma is 10. So the Gemara with Rabbi Yehuda, who says that it's kiksavam, so it means that the height of the mizbeach was just 3 and not higher. So he says, Ki Gomer, when Rabbi Yehuda learned the Gzeira Shava, the Gomer. He learned the Gzeira Shava of the words, what was the words again? Revoi, yeah? I'm just, give me a second, I'll tell you what the, Revoi. Ravua. So he learns that Ravua didn't go on the height. Rabbi Yehuda learned it goes on the width, how wide and length. So where did you count from? From the center. That's how he learned Ravua. And also there's a difference to what are you comparing it to. There's two places where it says Ravua, where you can learn out from. It's either it says Ravua, where we learn out from the Mizbeach of Yecheskel, which was 12 by 12, okay? Or we can learn, which was Mizbeach HaChitzai, or you can learn out from the Ravua, where it says also by Mizbeach HaPnimi by Moshe. So we learn it out what the size was for the Mizbeach HaChitzai. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, we learned out from Mizbeach HaChitzai of Yecheskel to Mizbeach HaChitzai of the Beis HaMikdash HaSheni. Achitzani. We learn now from the Mizbeach Achitzani from Yecheskel, which is maybe going on the third Beis HaMikdash, or maybe second, and we'll say the first Beis HaMikdash, to the Mizbeach Achitzani that was by the first Beis HaMikdash. And according to Rabbi Yossi, no, we're learning out the height from the Mizbeach HaPnimi, where it says also Ravua, that it was double the length from Mizbeach, from that Mizbeach. We learn out from Mizbeach HaChitzani, it was double the height. Says the Gemara. So that's what he learns. Keep coming. Say the Shabbat Rachel the Gemara. In fact, Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Yehuda, how come it's Chazeh? According to Rabbi Yehuda, that he says the height of the Mizbeach HaChitzani was only 3 amas high, right? And there was 3 amas high. How come it's Chazeh? According to his Shita, how come it's Chazeh Kayin? Because the height of the walls, he learns what was only 5 amas, right? He learns kipshuta. He doesn't learn the whole drasha that we said. He learns that the walls of the chutzah was 5 amas, the mizbeach was 3 amas, Takit was 2 amas shorter, but he says a kohen was at least 6 amas. Moshe Rabbeinu, they said it was 12, it was 10 amas, but he wasn't. A lot of people.
Kohen was 6 amas?
Or more. It could have been.
That's pretty tall, no?
Sure, but Moshe Rabbeinu says it was 10 amas. He jumped 10 amas, and his stick was 10 amas. Doesn't say Moshe Rabbeinu was a giant. It just says Moshe Rabbeinu was 10 amas. Doesn't say he was a giant. Says the Gemara, so you could see the kohen. The kohen was chazi. So how come it's chazi kohen? The kohen is chazi. Even though the kohen you're able to see, the biyad is chazi, but the aveda that he's doing, you can't see because he was bent down on the mizbeach, which was 3 amas, and he was doing the aveda there, which is lower than the walls. It's understood according to Rabbi Yehuda that this is the reason why he had to be mekadosh the floor, because according to Rabbi Yehuda, there was only 11,000 karbanis that you were able to be makriv on the mizbeach of Shlomo HaMelech, even though it was 20 by 20, but the one from Moshe Rabbeinu was 6 by 6, 36, and it was only 1,000, 36. 36 into 400 is only 11. So it would mean only 11,000 karbanis you could be makriv. So there wasn't enough for 142,000. That's why he was makadosh the floor. Oh, Rabbi Yossi says it was only 1 amma that they were makav 1,000 karbanis. So Shlomo HaMelech was 400 amas. So there was a lot of room for it. So why did he have to be makadosh the floor? My kiddush. What was the purpose of being makadosh the whole ritzvahs of the whole azara? In order to put a mizbeach we wanted it on the floor. It had to be kedusha. The floor had to be kaddish. That's why they were makdish the floor. Like when you have to be makadish the karka by kfudis.
It's like a warehouse, holding on.
Yeah. So no, I'm saying you want a new karka for the berry. They have to be makadish the karka. So let us say for by the mizbeach had to be on kedusha the good thing. Zok Yimar Shlomo Rabbi Yossi. It's understood according to Rabbi Yossi, who says that the Mizbeach that Shlomo made was so big, right? That so when it says the hachal b'negei to Moshe Rabbeinu was so small, I know the siv cutting that it was too small to be marked of all the kabbalas.
Only 1,000, not more.
Only 1,000, not more. On Shlomo Melech you could be marked a lot. That's why he only said the lashon that it was cut mehachal only by Moshe Rabbeinu. Rabbi Yehuda, my cotton. What does it mean, cotton? Moshe Rabbeinu was cotton. Shlomo Melech was also too small. It was only 11,000, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that you can be makiv. So why are you emphasizing cut mehachal by Moshe Rabbeinu? Shlomo Melech wasn't either enough that until he had to be mekadosh the whole Yitzchak to be able to be makiv the Imurim.
It's 24,000.
Yeah, it was only able to be makim 11,000, and he needed 142,000 kabbanis. This is the pshat. Mizbach avanim shoas shleim etachs mizbach nechish katnava. He means, why did he use Moshe Rabbeinu's the lashon that it was cotton mahachas ha'ila v'samincha by Moshe Rabbeinu? He means because the mizbeach avanim that Shlomo HaMelech built was in the place of that mizbeach that Moshe built. So he was really talking. He was talking about his own. The pasuk is talking about Shlomo HaMelech's mizbeach, but he called it the mizbeach hanechishis because this mizbeach that he built was in place of Moshe Rabbeinu's. Okay. No, it's referring to Shlomo HaMelech's. But the reason why he uses Moshe Rabbeinu because Shlomo HaMelech's Mizbeach took the place of Moshe Rabbeinu. That's why. And that's why it was called cotton. Even his was cotton. Or 5:15.
5:15.
So now we have a machlek. You remember I told you machlek is how you learn Ravua. According to Rabbi Yehuda, Ravua is to count from the center, and just like by Yecheskel the Mizbeach HaChitzoni, it says 12, but it was only counted from the center. So too, the Mizbeach HaChitzoni by the Beis Hamikdash was 5 from the center. So it's 10 by 10. But so you're learning Mizbeach HaChitzoni and Mizbeach HaChitzoni. According to Rabbi Yossi, it's not counting on the center. The Ravua, we're comparing it to a different word of Ravua. Ravua that says by Mizbeach HaPnimi, that the Mizbeach HaPnimi, the height was double the length. So we're learning out just like the Mizbeach HaPnimi, the height was double the length. So too the Mizbeach HaChitzoni, which was 5 by 5, it was the height was double the 5. It was 10 amas. In fact, what are they arguing about? Why is one choosing the Ravua from the Mizbeach HaPnimi and learning about the height, and one is choosing Ravua that says by Yecheskel, learning to count from the center? And the mother, Rabbi Yehuda Sava Donin Chutz Mechutz, that you can only be done on Mizbeach HaChitzoni. You have to match apples to apples from the Mizbeach HaChitzoni of Yecheskel to the Mizbeach of the Beis Hamikdash. But ain't Donin Mechutz Mibefnim. But you cannot learn a Mizbeach HaChitzoni from the Mizbeach HaPnimi. Omar Sava, and Rabbi Yossi says no. Sava Donin Mikli Mikli. He says that the Mizbeach HaChitzoni that was in the that the Mizbeach HaChitzoni that we're learning out from wasn't a Mizbach Havonim. It was Mizbach Nechoshes. And so you could carry, even the Mizbeach HaChitzoni was a kli, you were able to carry it. So we learn out the Mizbeach HaChitzoni from the Mizbeach HaPnimi because they were both kelim. That's what, Masha'en came to learn out the Chitzain, so that's why he learned it out, because they were both Kalim, then comparing the Kalim. You can't learn out from Yecheskel. That was from Yecheskel, is a Mizbech Shalavonim. It wasn't a Keli. Okay. So since it was a Kli, both Kli, they weren't Mechubanim, so therefore he was down the Mizbech one from the other. But the Mizbech of Yecheskel was a binyan shalavonim, which was attached to the ground, so it's not a kli. Talking about a new inyan. Amar Rava, Rabbi Yehuda agrees by the blood, even though Rabbi Yehuda says the whole floor of the Hekdesh was considered like a Mizbeach, that's only b'negei to burning the fats on the floor, that you can burn it all over the Hazara. But the blood, to be mechaper, that has to be dafka on the Mizbeach. The Tanya that we learned in Abraisa. B'negei to Korban Pesach. Rabbi Yehuda Ima, after they shechted all the Pesachim, Kais Echad, Hayim Emalam Edam Ataruvis, V'Shevchei, Agabi Kira Mizbeach. If you remember, there were so many Pesachim, we said it was like in Venice. They had to walk in boots. You know, when in Venice the water comes in the city, so you have to walk in boots up to your thighs. So that's how they walked in the Beis Hamikdash with the blood. And we also said they had to walk on planks in order to. You weren't allowed to be dirty. So when the Kohen went to the Mizbeach, they had these planks, and they were considered Mechobel Karka. We learned it before. Anyway, so if somebody dropped the cup of the blood, if he received he has to receive it in a kli, and then it fell on the floor, then he could pick it up again, because probably all the blood is mixed, so he has from his carbon there also, and he could pour it on the Mizbeach. Okay? If his kais fell, the blood after he received it in the kais, because if it never went into the kais, then it's possible. Went into the kais and then the blood fell out, then he could just scoop up from the floor, because there's a mixture of his carbon in it.
Is still left over his cup a little bit? Still was left over also?
No, it's talking about he had nothing. If he had left over, he could then still spill it. We're talking about he not enough, so he fills it up, and he pours it on the wall. Meaning that if the blood of one Pesach spilled out from the case that they received the blood from the behema, so then the halacha is that he scoops it up and he pours it. So you see this, that the kohen fills up from the dam ataruves. It's marsha the carbon, because his blood is mixed. He's how could I tell Rabbi Yehuda kol hazar mekatra. But if Rabbi Yehuda says the whole hazara had to be like the mizbeach, mamish the mizbeach, the mitzvah tzchap getan. Because even if it's spilled on the floor, that's like spilling on the mizbeach. What's the problem? So Zaraya, that by dam it needs the mizbeach. Maybe because the shvicha, the pouring of the blood, has to come mikoich ha'adam, and not from spilling. Spilled not from him, without any kavanah. This fell on the floor. That's why I told him about the Sefer Torah. They have machines that write Sefer Torah. You yotze just by turning on the machine, and it starts writing the whole Sefer Torah. They have in China. You can buy a Sefer Torah for $5. They finish up. You just pay for the cloth, and it looks better than any Sefer.
Yeah.
It's not kosher.
It's not kosher. No,
You go to the mikveh, the machine.
no, you can go to mikveh and start the machine. Is that good enough? No, you go to mikveh, start the machine. Is that like a guy was sitting on the fire? And no, it doesn't. L'shem mitzvah has to be every letter. Yeah. So maybe you need mikoich adam. That's why it was possible. Let him take the blood, fill it up again. Let him pour it on the floor. So it will be with the shame, the mitzvah for the you have the shame. I'm spraying the blood on the floor. That's no, we don't allow it. Says maybe we do, but the reason why we said it should be on the mizbeach, mishum de beina mitzvah namuvcha. So he says from down is nishkanaya. But b'peil mamish the halacha is dam needs to be on the mizbeach. Okay. Talking about Amar Rabbi Elazar, mizbeach shenivgam. This is very similar to what we had before. A mizbeach that was broken. Ein oichlim beginay shiari amincha. You cannot eat the leftover. Even you did the kimitza, right? Now you want to eat the rest of the mincha. You can't, because the mizbeach is pogum. Never, like it says in the post. You want to be mocked, even if you were mocked the kimitza, but it was on the mizbeach pogum. You can't eat the shiyare, the rest of the mincha. No, nishchita mel of mincha, a kama mincha. The Kemitza is like the Shchita. He did the Shchita. And even though he puts it on the Mizbech is Pogim. He can't eat the Shiyari HaMincha. No. Right, he needs to do a new Mincha. Bichlu matzah says on Mizbech. It says befedish that he should eat the matzahs by the Mizbech. Chidavke eats the Mizbech. It says it doesn't mean that you have to eat it by the Mizbech. I mean, Chidavke eats the Mizbech. You had to eat the Shiyari HaMincha Davke right next to the Mizbech. It's not true. The whole Azara was kosher to eat the Shiyari HaMincha. What was the pasuk saying? Eitzel. Only the Mizman Shu Shalem in the time when the Mizbech is complete is good. Then you can eat the Shiyari HaMincha. Anywhere you want, but then you can eat it. But if the Mizbech is missing a brick or it's broken, it's pogum, then you cannot. So it says, you want to ask nowhere, because it's totally in the Mizbech. Eitzel tells you it's totally that the Mizbech muzayin shalim, that the Mizbech has to be complete. So you want to ask Shiyari Mincha. You find Shiyari Mincha that is totally in the Mizbech because of Eitzel. It says the Lashon that it has to be Eitzel HaMizbech, that the Shiyari HaMincha should be eaten. In fact, you want to kach minala. How do we know that? By behemoths, which is kach. Until now we spoke about a mincha. How do you know a chatas hashim, which is a behema, that it cannot be eaten by the kahanim and the hazara only when the mizbech is shalem? Talmud Lemer comes therefore to the road. Kodesh kadashim he. So it says kodesh kadashim, but by the chatas and the hashim, it says kodesh kadashim by the mincha. So just like by the mincha is only eaten when the mizbeach is nisht pogum, so too the rest of kachim is the chatas and the hasham can only be eaten if the mizbeach is complete. Surely it's not possible. Kachim kalam and ayim. How do we know like a shlamim? Because why is it kachim kalam? Because it's not burnt to Hashem. By the shlamim, the balabatim eat it, so it's not. It's kachim kalam. So how do we know they are not eaten in Yerushalayim only when the mizbeach is complete? We learn it out from a drasha of Rabbi Yossi. The Tanya we learned from Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Shloisha Dvarim Mishum Shloisha Zkenim. There were three things that were said in the name of three Zkenim. He's going to say this following din. This is one of the dinim, which Rabbi Yishmael said. Rabbi Yishmael Omer. Rabbi Yishmael says, Yachal, I would have thought, Sheyala, other Maisa Sheni Yerushalayim Yerichlenu. I would have thought that a person brings up Maisa Sheni to Yerushalayim, and he has to eat it in Yerushalayim, Bizman Hazeh, even today's day, after the Churban, this is halacha minhagei to us. Do we have to bring up Maisa Sheni to Yerushalayim or not? So he says, I would have thought, yeah. Says the Gemara Medinu, L'cheira, we could prove that you cannot eat Maisa Sheni b'Yerushalayim Bizman Hazeh. How do we learn it out? Chayr, the din of Chayr Behema Ton Havayis Makim. It says you have to bring it up to Yerushalayim and eat it there. Well, Maisa Sheni is Ton Havayis Makim. Has to be brought up to Eretz Yisrael in the Chayr Yerushalayim to be able to eat it. Ma b'Chayr Einei Nachal Ela B'fnei Abayis. Just like the B'Chayr, the Kahanim cannot eat it only when the Beis Hamikdash was existing, not today. I'll tell you, today, Maisa Sheni, you cannot eat it in Yerushalayim because you need the Beis Hamikdash there. Just like B'Chayr. Maisa Sheni you have to give, but you can't eat it. So if you want to bala B'Chayr, I could slug up.
What do you do with it?
You set it aside. I don't know. I think you have to set it aside.
You can't have an from it?
You paid it, and you have to keep the money. Maybe we give it to tzedakah. That's what we do today.
So
Yeah.
You can have an from it.
No, you give it to tzedakah. How you
That's
gonna?
what I'm saying.
The tzedakah, yeah. Says the Gemara, we learn it out from B'Chayr. Just like B'Chayr, there's no din B'Chayr only when the Beis Hamikdash is there. In fact, you want to know? I'll tell you, B'Chayr is different. The B'Chayr is more chama, Mala B'Chayr. Why is the din B'Chayr not nohug? Only when the Beis Hamikdash is there. Shekein ton matan dom meimurim legam mizbeach. By B'Chayr, when the Beis Hamikdash was around, you had to spray the blood, burn the meimurim on the mizbeach. Mashein came Ma'aser Sheni didn't need anything connected with the Mizbeach. So maybe even without the Beis Hamikdash, you have to bring up Ma'aser Sheni to Yerushalayim and eat it there. Says you want to be Bikurim Yechichel. Bikurim doesn't have any connection to the Mizbeach, and nevertheless it's only eaten when the Beis Hamikdash was around. So Ma'ale Bikurim, it says you have no raya. Ma'ale Bikurim has a chumrah why it has to be when the Beis Hamikdash is around. Shekain to unin hanach lefnei Mizbeach, because you had to place the new fruits in front of the Mizbeach. As special hanacha, you brought the basket, but dafka in front of the Mizbeach. Versus Ma'aser Sheni had nothing to do with the Mizbeach. Says the Gemara, I hear you. So Talmud Lema Havesim Shana, we learn it out from a Hekesh. In the same pasuk it says, Havesim Shana Havesim Zevachim ve'eis masoi seichem, and it says v'chayres b'karchem etzeichem achaltem Shana lefnei Hashem elokechem makish ma'aser lebechayr. Well, makish Ma'aser Sheni to bechayr ma bechayr ela b'fnei Abayis. Just like a bechayr is only when the Beis Hamikdash existed. Ma'aser Sheni ain't nechal lefnei Abayis. So too Ma'aser Sheni is only brought to Yerushalayim when the Beis Hamikdash is in existence. Thank you, mother. Why do I need this hekesh for? Let's go back and learn it out with a Mahatzad Hashava. Sai b'chayr, sai neisim Mahatzad. Let's learn it with a Mahatzad. You didn't have Ma'aser Sheni from the Tzad Hashava of b'chayr and bikurim, because b'chayr and bikurim, b'chayr has a chumrah that you wanted to say, what's the reason you need the Beis Hamikdash there? Because it needs the damim on the Mizbeach, and it needs the emurim burnt on the Mizbeach. But we say that's not the reason, because Bikurim doesn't need the damim, and doesn't need the emurim. It's fruits. Are you going to say, okay, Bikurim, the reason why Bikurim needs in front of the Beis when the Beis Hamikdash is there, because it needs the hanacha in front of Mizbeach. We said that's not true. By Bechayr doesn't have that. So let's learn of the Tzad HaShava, both of them. From both of them, Ma'aser Sheni also needs to be brought up to Yerushalayim, because none of their reasons are reason to say that you need the Beis Hamikdash to have the din of Bechayr. And you still say you don't do it unless the Beis Hamikdash is there. So therefore, let's learn out Ma'aser Sheni. Says you want to know, we can slug it up. You could still say the etzem zach. They both need the mizbeach. Mashenke Ma'aser Sheni doesn't need the mizbeach whatsoever. Bechayr needs the mizbeach mitzad the blood and burning the emurim. Bikurim needs the mizbeach. It says you bring the basket in front of the mizbeach. By Ma'aser Sheni you don't need that. So maybe Ma'aser Sheni is more lenient. That's why we needed the hekesh. In fact, you want to make kasava. What did Rabbi Yishmael hold? Why? Meaning that it was pashut that the Iser of Achilas B'chayr Zmanaseh, he said there's a Iser. Ma'aser Sheni is Misuper. Ikasavi Kedusha Rishayna, the Kedusha that Beis Hamikdash that was Niskadish Kitchel Shaita Kitchel Aslabe. If you say that the Beis Hamikdash is not only for that time, was for today's day also for the future. So even the b'chayr should be able to be eaten by kahanim, because it's as if the kedusha of the Beis Hamikdash is here, right? Because he said kitchel lasad. So we should be makiv kabanis even b'zman hazeh and eat it in Yerushalayim, even though there's no Beis Hamikdash, because it's not the kedusha. Even though there's a churva, there was a churva, but we say the kedusha of that place is still there. So we should say the same thing. B'negei to Ma'aser Sheni, the same thing. And if you're going to say it's not holy, meaning that the kedusha Hamikdash was bottled in the Zman HaChurban, so your shaila by Ma'aser Sheni is, if your shalayim is considered lefnei Hashem lekecha, even bisman, there's no kedusha of mikdash, so maybe you can eat the Ma'aser Sheni. Says the Gemara, afilu b'chayr nami teba, you can ask b'chayr the same way. You're saying there's no kedusha of Beis Hamikdash today's day. So he says, what was your shaila by Ma'aser Sheni? By Ma'aser Sheni, should I say that the kedusha in Yerushalayim, is it considered as lefnei? Is Yerushalayim considered as Lefnei Hashem Elikecha?
As if it was a big day.
As the base in front. No, the Kedusha of the Beis Hamikdash doesn't exist, but the Kedusha of Yerushalayim is still there, and you should be able to eat Ma'aser Sheni. Or should I say no? Once the Beis Hamikdash was Nechrab, maybe the Kedusha of Yerushalayim is not there. Says the Gemara, the same Shiloh that you ask on Ma'aser Sheni, you could ask on B'chayr. How? By B'chayr, let's say before the Churban, they sprayed the dam, burned the Murim, and before the Kohen got to eat the B'chayr, it was Nechrab. Do we say he could still eat the B'chayr because the Kedusha of Yerushalayim is still there or not? So Amar Avina La'ilam Kasava really holds Loi Kicha. It's not the Kedusha of the Beis Hamikdash was only L'Shaita, not for the future. The Hacham Mayaskin over here, it's talking about B'chayr and Izikdamei Koydem Chum Habayis. That by a B'chayr, that they sprayed the blood before the Churban. The Churban Habayis V'adayim B'sarik Hayim. And the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, and the Basa is still in existence, right? The Bechayr wasn't eaten yet, but he sprayed the blood before the Churban, and he burnt the before the Churban. So now, and right after that is he wasn't the Churban. So the shaila is, could he eat it or not? Says Gemara, the iskish psara ledamai. We compare the eating of the meat to the spraying of the blood. Just like the dam needs the mizbeach, so otherwise you can't eat it. So too, the basa has to be eaten on the mizbeach. It's telling the mizbeach, therefore you can't eat it if there was a churban, because once there's a churban, there's no mizbeach. Now, and then comes ma'isa, and we learn out with a hekesh from Bechayr that there's no din ma'isa once the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. What are you talking about? Something that you learn out from the hekesh, you learn out basa that you're not allowed to eat, and it needs the mizbeach from dam. And then you want to learn out ma'isa sheni from the basa. So it's a double hekesh. Says you want a ma'isa dagan chulul. We're learning out ma'isa dagan. Ma'isa dagan is chulul. And by chulin, we do learn out the double hekesh. This is only good according to the Mandiyama that holds basa lomin daslinan, that the ikah of a hekesh is the student, not the melamed. So since the student is Maisa Sheni, is the one that's learning out from the basa, that's the melamed, and the Maisa is the student, it's chulin. So then you can learn a double hekesh. But according to Mandiyama, we go after the melamed. So side the dam is a melamed, side the bus is a melamed. So if both melamed are kaddish, you can't do another hekesh. What could you say? He says it's not a hekesh basa from dam. By bechayr, we say just like the blood needs the mizbeach, the basa of the bechayr also needs the mizbeach. It's not a hekesh; it has one din, and since it has one din, it's one hekesh. And we're learning Ma'aser Sheni from the dam of basa, which is one din. So it's one hekesh that you're learning out from.